Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Ricmotech World Challenge presented by the SDK Foundation and Putt Picker, where some of the best virtual GTP, LMP2, and GT3 racers will do battle for 75 minutes here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with not Avery McDonald, but Larry Lefty McLeod here in the commentary box. And filling in for Jonathan Grabowski behind the scenes tonight is the subject of my favorite Jim Croce song, Big Bad Jim Cunningham. And for the second week running, we find ourselves just 25 miles south of the land of cement ponds and movie stars in Long Beach, California. Envisioned by former travel agent Chris Pook as the Monaco of the West and first raced in 1975, tonight's venue hosted Formula One for many a year and currently is serving as the home of the longest running major street race in America, where CART and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn concrete canyon home since 1984. Good evening, Larry, and thanks for hanging around La La Land for another week. And sorry I'm just a little late to the party.
I'm getting kind of used to this left coast time zone thing after being up Northern California, a couple weeks back, and then we hit the Long Beach area last week, which, you had to go and do some sightseeing and take that little Hollywood bus tour, check out the stars homes. I know that's what you were doing last Monday when Avery and I were holding down the fort. I know how that goes. It's okay. It's a good tour. But tonight you're in for business. It's going to be an interesting race tonight with the number of cars we've got in the session, as well as this is World Challenge. We did this a couple years ago here at Long Beach, and let's just say it was an interesting evening.
Yes, it certainly was. Keep your eye on the hairpin, everybody. Yeah, it was certainly interesting watching 3 different types of cars, 4 different classes wind their way around this track, where there are really precious few places to go if you get it wrong. Although Aaron Beaver there just found where to go, it appears, as he gets that car set up going into turn number 6, coming off of West Shoreline Drive. And Larry, it is the beginning here. Actually, not the beginning. We're about 5 minutes into the Speed Lab qualifying session here at Long Beach, where we give our drivers 15 minutes to set their fastest time. We give them 4 attempts, 4 flying laps, in order to set their fastest lap times and set the grid for this evening's race. And we've had some changes here in the field. One, it looks like a lot of our racers have already have either completed their qualifying sessions, or they just haven't gone out yet, Larry. And it looks like the majority of the racers have not gone out for qualifying. Big change, especially in the LMP2, or probably in the GTP field, as Bailey Petrowski has moved over from racing in the Ferraris for the last couple seasons, like his D2D teammate Bobby Childs, and has moved over, and I should add Bobby Childs has as well, have moved over to the Acura ARX 06s.
Yeah, Billy mentioned that to us at the end of the last round, said he was finally looking to get back into his favorite platform. It does look like Bobby followed him. Aaron Beaver, however, is going to stick with the BMW. So a couple of different names there, a couple different platforms for the D2D team, just running in the GTPs. So that'll be interesting. We'll see if Bailey can continue his pace. And by looking so far at qualifying, he's doing exactly that.
Yeah, indeed he is. And just only a couple of drivers out on track currently. Pan Hydraday in his GT3 McLaren, one of our GT3 AM races. He is out on track currently, working his 4th and final lap, trying to move up from 4th in the qualifying session here, just a little bit higher. He's only... well, I was going to say about 3/4 of a second off of Russ Ruddock's time for 7th in class. And we'll see here if he can better that as he comes out of the hairpin onto the straight and across the line. And Pan Hydraday does not improve. And we're starting to see a couple of our other racers come out now on track. But Larry, let's do this. Now that we've got a few more drivers out on track setting qualifying times, let's bring in our pre-race guest for the evening. That is Jordan Griffin from Purple Sector Motorsports. Of course, he's been driving the number 283 LMP2 machine for Purple Sector here this season, currently running 3rd in the championship. Let's bring him in.
All right, joining us here pre-race is Jordan Griffin from Purple Sector Motorsports. And Jordan, how are you this evening, and how's your qualifying gone?
I'm doing well, thanks. This was the best quality I've had all year, so
that's good. That's a good sign.
I'll take the P3. I spun on my first flying lap, so only got 3 runs at it, but top 3 is perfectly fine to start on this race. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, looks like qualifying's pretty tight as well, even from Dibdall, your teammate, of course, Carson, and some of the others. Expecting a pretty close shootout here for the full 75 minutes? You think it's going to be more of a survive the chaos sort of strategy tonight?
I think it's definitely going to be survive the chaos, for sure. I think if you can maybe apply a little bit of pressure to the people in front of you into a mistake, that could come into it, but it's just going to be sit and wait for traffic, to be honest.
Yeah, we've seen that here before. I know you're kind of relatively new to maybe running these cars in this series, but obviously we've had this here at this track before, and I can tell you, Greg and I were alluding to it the last time here, was a very interesting evening, hoping to avoid some of that chaos here tonight. Have you done a lot of practice in the league for this event tonight and got a chance to figure out where the overtaking spots, either GTPs passing you guys or you guys beyond the GT3s?
Yeah, I did probably 50 or 60 laps over the course of this week in the Ricmotech servers. I think our passing spots are kind of the same. It's just like the three straightaways are basically the only passing spots. Other than that, it's just sit behind people in front of you.
Yeah, it's going to make things interesting when traffic bunches up. We got about 40 cars on the server tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get the racing started, though, here pre-race, like to get to know you a little bit more. What do you do when you're not on your sim rig on Monday nights?
I just got back from a golf outing, so
Oh,
if
any place tropical or nice?
no, it was in New Jersey,
That's
charity
tropical.
outing, and it was 103 degrees with 60% humidity, so it felt tropical. That's for sure.
Having grown up in New Jersey, I know there's not a lot of tropical going on there, but at least the weather made you feel like it.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, so good luck in the race tonight. But before we go, is there anybody you wanted to give any special mentions or shout outs to?
Purple Sector Motorsports. We've got quite a big crew out here, so hopefully we can do well for the team.
All right. Well, good luck, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you in about 75 minutes.
Hopefully, that's the plan.
All right. Good luck.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, Larry, there you go. There is our pre-interview guest, Jordan Griffin from Purple Sector Motorsports, driver of the number 283 LMP2 machine. And as we just now complete the Speed Lab qualifying session, we're going to take a look here in just a moment at our starting grid. And I have to get a couple things on my end ready to go. And
I will take the prototypes.
Yeah, there you go. Why don't we do that, Larry?
All right. Starting tonight on the pole from D2D Sim Racing, it is the one, the only Billy Petrowski. Alongside of him, on the second spot, it's going to be Stephen Hudak there, driving one of those Ferraris. On row 2 is going to be HSR Phantom Racing's Dalton Frederick on the inside, and Sean Fitzgerald from Leadpaw Racing on the outside. Row 3, we've got an all Sim City row here. Nick Mazza on the inside, Kevin Carlisle on the outside. Row 4, it's going to be another one of our G2D entry drivers, Aaron Beaver on the inside, and we've got Jim Pfeiffer from Sector 5 Racing on the outside of 4. Row 5 on the inside, going to have a Dean Dibdahl. These are in your LMP2s. He's your pole sitter there. He'll be alongside Carson Cushman from Purple Sector Motorsports. And then on row 2, we got Justin Barrera on the inside in the Metamorphosis team, followed by, we just talked to him, Jordan Griffin from Purple Sector Motorsports. On row 3 of the LMP2s, you're going to have, it is Nick Lemon on the inside, and he'll be alongside Jordan Butler from DNA Motorsports. And then we've got a couple, I think Bobby Childs may not have set a qualifying time here for D2D in the GTPs, but we then do have Stacy Bertrand if she set a time there for Rockefeller Racing in the LMP2.
Yeah, I think a lot of our racers here tonight, knowing they did not get a lot of practice time this week, I think a lot of them sat out qualifying altogether, Larry, and they're just gonna wing it here with the green flag flies.
It looks like Bobby set a time, but should be in fact end up gridded with the GTPs, not in the middle of the LMP2s.
All right, so let's go. We'll take a look now at our GT3 racers, where Kyle Spalding, it will start on pole in the number 8 Mercedes. Right alongside him will be Colin Winslow in the number 704 Porsche. Then we've got on row number 2, Michael Brooks in his Lamborghini alongside Ryan Amon in the number 87 704 Motorsports Mustang. Leo Dragotta from Orion will start in 5th, with Taj Edwards starting in 6th. Starting 7th tonight will be Brian Coxon in the number 39 McLaren, right alongside Keith Stein. Stein will be starting out in his Chevy Corvette. Then we got Zach DeLeva, who's our pole sitter in the GT3 Amfield, in the number 33 Lamborghini. He's going to start alongside Brian Bennett in the number 71 Lamborghini. Milan Harris, the first of our Acuras to start tonight in GT3, and alongside Milan will be Ilya Speaker. Then we've got Aaron Sunday in the OHND Racing machine. He'll start alongside Tyler King. And we got Dan Carrizo and I was just about to say Max Mosley, Zach Mosley from SimCity, starting alongside him. Then we've got Charlie Hosea and Dan Carrizo, Chad Seaburn and Adam Ballard, Russ Ruddick NPAN Hydra Day than Carlos Barrero and Greg Brockway, as our GTP racers have taken the green, Larry, and they head down to the fountain for the very first time. Bailey Petrowski already opens up almost 10 car lengths on Steven Hudek, who slots into second with Dalton Fredericks third. Then we've got right behind him Sean Fitzgerald and Nick Mazza, as our LMP2 racers now take the green flag, and they are on their way.
There we go.
Here we go. Big slide there as they come through the first couple of quarters, coming out of turns 3 and 4, Larry. Huge slide from Dean Dibdahl as these LMP2 cars still trying to get some heat in the rear tires. He's got Carson Cushman along with Justin Burra and Nicholas Lehman. Here, Jordan Griffin, he was so happy to start third, Larry. He falls back to 7th as our GT3 racers underway as well. And it is Kyle Spalding in the number 8 Mercedes. He's got now 2 car lengths on Colin Winslow, Ryan Amon, Michael Brooks as they come through turn number 7, head into turn number 8.
Yeah, good start there for the pole sitters. Although Dibdahl in the LMP2s was under, looks like some pressure there from Justin Barrera, and Cushman and Griffin, the 2 purple sector teammates, may have had to yield some spots there as we catch it now with the GT3s. As it looks like there, Kyle Spalding was able to hold that lead. But look at this already. Winslow is getting under pressure here as the little pass
right
through the hairpin.
I was going to say, right as they got to the end of East Seaside Way, there we had Winslow and Amon side by side, door to door, no contact between the Porsche and the Mustang. But in doing that, that has allowed Kyle Spalding now to open up a nice little, well, I was going to say open up a nice advantage, but the Mustang has closed things down. And now
contact.
Under attack.
That's a pile up.
Huge wreck there, Larry, as Michael Brooks, Brian Coxon managed to get by, but Taj Edwards in the Ryan Porsche there, Leo Dragota, both getting caught up in this as they were all coming up on the Porsche that we had right at the front of the field there, Colin Winslow, and Winslow now heads to the pits as well.
Wow, yeah, early chaos already. Big wreck there in the GT3s. We'll see if the officials decide to do any sort of hold on this one. But we've got all kinds of madness right now, as it looks like we may have gone yellow. Certainly another wreck involving Justin Barrera, and it looks like Justin Barrera has got so much damage, he is done for the night.
Done for the night, yeah. Wow. All right, so we are getting word now here, and we're going to go back and take a look at, let's take a look at a replay of this if we can, Larry.
Yeah, let's see where we can see here is there's our.
So here's where everything started, where we had Winslow and Amon side by side as they came out of the hairpin over at onto the front straight and onto East Shoreline Drive, and as they did, you'll notice just behind. Running in third and fourth, 2 cars side by side, and Larry, they started to make up ground as they came out from as they exited the fountain. And actually, this is before the fountain. This is over at turn 1. Pardon me.
Yeah, and that's Edwards probably breaking a bit too late, and he actually then triggers the wreck going into 1. Yeah. He's the one that gets the brunt of it here as the rest of the crowd tries to go on by. And in the case of Leo Dragota, he just stops and waits for them, but. Yeah, that's gonna definitely cost. You can see Colin Winslow in the pits there, and meanwhile we are still green. It looks like Kyle Spalding still leading the way in GT3s, but now obviously a big gap with him and Amon together, and then a big gap to the group behind of Coxon, Brooks, and Deleva. Yeah,
I was a little surprised. All right, so let's take a look here, and this is the same incident, I think, and just as these racers are getting underway. After the wreck here. But indeed, Larry, as we go on board now, take a look at Brian Coxon and Michael Brooks now, as again, they were trailing right behind this incident here. All right, let's
Yeah,
take
so
a look
yeah.
here because I think this is Aaron Beaver involved, possibly in the incident as they came out of the hairpin, and there again, so many cars as things funnel down coming into
Yeah.
turn one. Larry, just nowhere for many of these racers to go. But why don't we go back to the live action here if we can, Jim?
All right.
All right, so here we are back to live action, and we'll take a look here right at the middle of our GTP field with Nick Mazza in the 77 Cadillac. And he's got a line of Cadillacs with him there, Larry. Actually, more than just Cadillacs. He's got Kevin Carlisle directly behind,
Yep, his
as
teammate.
long as Aaron Beaver in that BMW.
Yeah, the two SimCity Racing entries there, both Mazda and Carlisle fighting for it. They're currently running third and fourth, or fourth and fifth, actually, I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think fourth and fifth at the moment.
It looks like Petrowski's got himself a little bit of a gap now on the field over Hudek. And then you got Fitzgerald, should be just right there in front of these two. So you've got Fitzgerald, Mazda, and Carlisle. And then a little bit of a gap to Aaron Beaver back behind them. And you can see him just in the back of the shot here as they come off of the hairpin.
Yeah, and of course the key here for obviously for the GTP and LMP2 racers going to be try to use these longer straights to find their way past the GT3 traffic is really once they get to the hairpin, probably not to the hairpin, once they get to the fountain, things really tighten up and become very, very difficult. And the challenge here, of course, Larry, is, again, typical street course. One, you've got the walls right up against you everywhere you go. The one place you don't is that fountain. And if you take too much curbing, one, you can lose the rear of the car, but you could also get a pretty hefty slowdown penalty as well.
Yeah, you sure can. Just now looking at the intermixing as the GTPs are catching the back of the GT3 field. And of course, with that wreck that we had in turn one to the GT3s, that just even further pushed them back into the oncoming rush of GTPs. So here you've got, as we were kind of focusing on those two SimCity racers there, those two, Mazda and Carlisle, now struggling. And look at the traffic now coming through here.
Here's the shot with the traffic, all of our racers coming down East Seaside Way. Oh my, as they go and they make that right-hand turn over at turn 9 and then have to go and get hard on the brakes and set up for the hairpin here. And Larry, we talk about it all the time, how challenging that hairpin is for these very long wheelbase LMP2 cars. I'm sure, especially if they're having to I guess determine their entry based on a couple of GT3 cars ahead, it's got to become even more difficult for them.
Yeah, those really are. These cars are just ginormous, even compared to the LMP2s. They're so much bigger, and to try to make that super tight hairpin is a struggle.
All right, let's look at this, Larry. As we're going to jump, here's Ken Copeland in the number 15 Mercedes. Battle for 6th position right now with Keith Stein in the Corvette just ahead. Actually, a couple cars ahead. He's got Stein. He's got Brian Bennett in the Lamborghini just ahead of him. Ilya Speaker and Milan Harris just behind in the two Rockefeller Racing Acuras. Such tight racing here again with really nowhere to go, and I think probably for the GT3 racers it's probably just as challenging as when they think they might have an opportunity to make a pass here and maybe pick up a position. They've got one of the prototypes sticking their nose in underneath them going to the apex.
They definitely do. Copeland now has got damage on the back of his car, and a little struggle keeping that back end planted here through these quick switchbacks on this street circuit, and that's not going to help him at all. We know he's always got great pace, but tonight that damage already is going to be hurting him, at least until he can make his pit stop.
And there you go. There's one of the examples of one of the prototype cars holding you to the outside, and it's given Milan Harris a bit of an advantage here, knowing that he's got the damaged car of Copeland just ahead. And for a moment, it looked like he might have been able to make a move to the inside on the last corner, but Copeland doing a good job of defense there going into turn 9 with what he's got. But let's see, because this car definitely looks to be a handful in the right-hand turns, we'll see how he can get that car around. And actually, Larry didn't look all that bad coming and powering off of the hairpin.
No, seemed to be all right there, but we'll see how he does going into the more high-speed entry into turn 1 and around the fountain.
You know, and Larry, of course, it just finally dawned on me, he doesn't have suspension damage. That he's got aero damage, obviously, with no rear wing. That probably the hairpin is the one corner where it affects him the least. So there you go. He got good drive off. This is where it's been very difficult for him, coming out of turn 8 onto Seaside Way. Actually, I'm sorry, that was out of Shoreline Drive, out of turn 5. My bad.
Yeah, as now they make their way onto Seaside Way. And again, that's a lot of traffic. A lot of cars get bunched up down this relatively long straightaway for this track, but it ends in a very tight sequence. You got to have it sorted out before you get there. Look at that battle of the GT3s as Bennett stays just in front of Stein. Stein of the Corvette, Bennett there in the Lamborghini.
And with those fights, that's kept Ken Copeland in the conversation here. Of course, quite a ways up is Zach DeLeva, our leader in GT3 AM, and Larry DeLeva, who's shown such promise here in that Aerokinetics Lamborghini, currently has 6 pro racers between he and Aaron Sunday, who is currently running second class also in a GT3 AM Lamborghini.
Yeah, DeLeva having a pretty good start to this race, considering all the chaos and things. To be your leader in AM this far up the field, it's a good signal for him.
All right, let's, if only, Larry, because Rich has figured out how to create his own channel here, or his own login on YouTube. Let's take a look at our LMP2 leader, Dean Dibdahl, who's coming off a pretty successful weekend. He and his team, I think, were top split at the 24 hours of the Nürburgring this past weekend, and we're performing very, very well. I don't have the final finishing order, but I know Rich was quite complimentary of his son.
Yeah, that is a tough feat. That's a really tough track to try to run 24 hours at. I can't imagine. I have not tried that one yet, but we know from Dean's past experience, he's done really well at the others, at Daytona, at Sebring, and not surprising to see him actually also doing well there. As it looked like, was that Brian Bennett pulling into the pits already?
I was just going to say, Larry, that I think Brian Bennett in the Sector 5 Lamborghini had issues, came off the hairpin with almost no pace whatsoever, managed to creep it down to that little slot in the pit wall to get the car onto the pit lane, and
I know we haven't gone through fuel strategy yet, but I can tell you, these cars are not going to go 52 minutes or 62 minutes on one tank of fuel, so this will still need an extra stop. It could be some repairs, or potentially he did not fill up after his qualifying session, so we'll have to, or didn't fill up beyond his 5 laps.
I was exactly what he used for qualifying. I mean, he did make it 9 laps, Larry, plus the pace lap itself. We don't see the GT3 pit window opening until around lap 19, so he only made it about halfway.
Yeah. Again, more traffic cozying up here going into the hairpin.
All right, as we watch now here, Larry, Leo Dragota in the Orion Porsche, of course, caught up in that early, I guess, lap 2, turn 1 incident, trying to work a recovery drive here, right behind the number 100 of Charlie Hosea, the blue Corvette here, as they head through the fountain.
That's actually Dan Carrito. Oh, and that's a spin there.
Oh, yeah, that was Dan Carrito, I'm sorry, in the Acura.
Yeah. Well, there goes Dragota, though.
For Leo Dragota.
Yeah, Dragota, look at that. His back wing looks like this looks a lot like Carlisle's did. So Dragoda now has some serious damage to that Porsche, and he's just going to have to limp it back around to the pits. That's unfortunate. It looked like he got through there cleanly, but I wonder if he rubbed the wall coming just past the fountain.
Yeah, well, we'll see if we can get a replay on that. But you're right; he looks looking like the Porsche equivalent of Ken Copeland now.
Yeah, he's by himself, gets around the fountain, and then you look as he comes off of turn 3 here. I wonder if he just clips that wall and then swaps ends. Not the hardest hit, but enough. He may not have a lot of damage, but clearly there's some aero damage to the back of that car.
Yeah, and of course, Larry, you know, with all of these walls being concrete and so close, probably the one saving grace is coming out of the fountain there. Not the highest speed corner that he maybe didn't hit all that hard, as we've got a car off. Speaking of the fountain, looked like coming right out of the fountain, had a car spun around. And that might have been, I'm trying to see who that might have been. Was that right? Was that Bobby Childs possibly? Oh no, Larry.
Ryan Almond, yeah.
Ryan
one of our
Almond,
leaders.
the Mustang, who had been running second in GT3, and he's now on the pit lane. And you see there, even before he got to the fountain,
wow,
the rear end of that car looking awfully evil. So must have gotten into the wall sometime or into another car a little bit earlier than that. He's now on the pit lane taking repairs. Let's see if we can pick it up. This is Michael Brooks right now, who is leading in pro, who gets a little bit of the wall. And we'll see if we can pick it up there, because Ahmed had already fallen back at that point. All right. Well, if we pick it up, we'll bring that to you here. But it is right now Michael Brooks, your leader in GT3 Pro. Zach DeLeva now, and Larry. With some of the carnage, and I guess carnage is the best way to put it, up front, because Kyle Spalding, who was our early leader, is on the pit lane as well. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe Spalding and Amon didn't come together.
I'm worried of that as well, considering they were
Michael
two
Brooks
leaders.
is our new leader.
Yeah, they were running together within a second or so of each other. So we'll have to see if we can catch that, but certainly seeing both of them in the pits now makes me a little worried that perhaps there was something going on there.
Yeah, and so it is now Brooks and Brian Coxon, your two running 1-2 in GT3 Pro. DeLeva, your leader in GT3 AM, running third overall in GT3.
Yeah, that's huge for DeLeva to be up in that order, because not only is it good to be leading your class, but in this case, it'd be good to collect third place overall GT3 points, because that's how we award points. So for DeLeva, he would like to keep this going, and now, like we always talk about at this track, it becomes a test of survival. We're only 18 minutes into a 75-minute race. There's a lot of time to survive, and you've got to really work on that if you want to collect some strong points. And now it's not so much about speed, it's about precision.
All right, Bobby Childs heads to the pits. Let's see if we can pick this up.
It looks like he may be damaged there. We'll see. Or does he get into... Well, he doesn't look like he has damage there, but clearly there was something going on in front of him. And then he comes around here to the hairpin. Seems to be right there. I wonder if it's at the other end of the straightaway.
I don't see Kyle Spalding in the shot either, Larry.
No, at this point, Kyle's already out. All right.
No. All right. Unfortunately, it looks like we don't have the replay on it for you here. So let's jump back to the live action. And there was Aerokinetics driver Zach DeLeva leading GT3 AM. But let's jump up to the front of the field, Larry. Bailey Petrowski reunited with his Acura ARX-06 here, starting to slice his way through traffic. And whereas we've seen so many problems for so many of the GT3 cars and even some of the LMP2 cars, Petrowski already, Larry, with a 17-second advantage on Stephen Hudek, who's running second in class in the Ferrari.
That's a big margin. It's something tells me he's very comfortable in this Acura, where he had spent a couple of seasons before switching to the Ferrari. And right now, he's just as precise as he always is. just at this point trying to avoid any sort of chaos, avoid anything. You watch tonight, he'll be very cautious passing into the GT3s or the LMP2s.
All right, and here we go, Larry. This now, and maybe this one didn't have so much importance a couple of laps ago, but here the Rockefeller Racing pair of Ilya Speaker and Zach Mosley. Speaker, pardon me, actually, is this? I'm sorry, it's actually I think that's Keith Stein and Ilya Speaker. My bad. They're Stein in the Corvette. And Ilya Speaker directly behind. They are currently running 4th and 5th, just one spot off the GT3 Pro podium. But they do have, let's see here, Milan Harris about 3 seconds up the road. So a lot of ground they got to pick up.
Yeah, there's a couple of those teammates there, the Rockefeller Racing team. They may not race each other too tightly. They maybe want to just keep some distance between them, but different makes, so they're going to have different strengths and weaknesses around the track, but probably not going to be pushing each other around too much. Very likely on comms together also, as some of these teams would normally do. All right.
So here's the gap, Larry. Now we can see between Brooks and Coxon running 1-2, and then I mean, so close behind, less than a second back. Zach DeLeva, he's got he's got the Dipdahl LMP2 machine between he and Brian Coxon, but he's pretty much right there. Last couple of laps. DeLeva has been lapping almost identical lap times, I think within about a tenth of a second or so of Brian Coxon just ahead.
Yeah, all three of them seem to be very equal. Brooks, Coxon, and DeLeva, about 3 seconds separating the three of them, but running all very equal lap times. This may come down to some traffic or to pit stop strategies, if you include not only the top two in Pro, but also your leader in AM.
All right, Larry, let's take a look here at Bobby Childs, who my understanding is he was doing like the chicken dance in the pit lane last week.
He's trying to do it again this week, and that is how you do it. As you get yourself into the pits, we'll see if his car remains still this time. It looks like it has, but that looks like an early exit to this one for Bobby Childs.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. After having some repairs done, heads back out on track and only makes it a corner. Maybe didn't get got as much in the way of repairs done as he thought he needed, and maybe he needed more. But we also know here, I mean, there have been so many changes to the tire models for both the GTP and the LMP2 cars. Pardon me, in the last couple of weeks, that it's quite possible that he just went out on some very cold tires. He's been sitting in the pits for what, almost 15 minutes.
Yeah, that is one of the things that iRacing continues to do with these, not coming to the GT3s, but also to the LMP2s and the GTPs, is the cold tire model. They really want these things to start out ice cold and make the drivers warm them up just like real life, and I think it's catching a lot of drivers out as they continue to progress that tire model season over season.
Yeah, indeed. And Larry, we should make note that this is the first Ricmotech World Challenge event that we've had here with the new iRacing season, and with pretty substantial changes to the GT3 cars here. That there have been some changes to make these cars even just a little bit more realistic from the aero side. Also realistic as far as the tire modeling is concerned, and I think most of these racers have had to pretty much start from ground zero with the doing setup of these cars. Perhaps they're probably a little bit somewhat lucky here at Long Beach that it is a very flat course. It is for the most part a very smooth course, as we said, a lot of these racers spent their time doing the 24 hours of the Nürburgring this past weekend, or this past week, and practicing for that they really didn't have all the time they wanted to dial in, at least specifically for Long Beach.
Yeah, and that's it's sometimes part of the game. If you get good in the car, but you don't necessarily get the right setup because you're putting your efforts into a very different track. You're doing it for the Nürburgring versus Long Beach. They are very different animals, both equally treacherous, just different personalities for sure, and wildly different setups. As we get a good shot here of Zach DeLeva continuing to try and chase down Brian Coxon. Of course, DeLeva driving the Lamborghini, Coxon driving the McLaren. They find themselves just a couple seconds back.
Yeah, and the last time through, Larry, I said Coxon, Brooks, and DeLeva were running very similar lap times. About 0.2 to the good for DeLeva this past time through. That being said, I think the fastest GT3 racer we have on track at the moment, well, now it's Michael Brooks, who just reset fast lap, but I was going to say Milan Harris, who's sitting back third in pro, unfortunately 6 seconds back from this Coxon and DeLeva battle, running about a second faster per lap than these two racers we're watching now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if DeLeva is really trying to necessarily get past, or if he's just going to do a little ride the coattails, maybe save some fuel here in Coxon's wake, and then kind of see what he can do. Knowing that they're in different classes, he may not be trying to push the issue too much. He may be just also trying to set up for that pass in the pit stop later in the race, as we're not even quite to the 30-minute mark. But those pit windows should be opening soon.
All right, Larry, let's jump on board here. This is Kevin Carlisle, and although not the car directly behind Carlisle here in the 27 Cadillac, Dalton Fredericks in the orange number 20 Porsche. He's the third car in the line here. He's been making up quite a bit of ground last couple of laps. Unfortunately for him, he's going to run into quite a bit of GT3 traffic just ahead, I think, including Ryan Amund's Mustang, who has rejoined the fray.
Yeah, and it's gonna all those teammates for him as well, maybe helping to block things. As there's a barrage of SimCity racers, they're all sorted together.
Yes.
Frederick's flashing the lights in the background there, trying to get through them all. Carlisle trying to fend off and maybe work his way around one more GT3 before making it into turn one. That looks like Keith Stein. Carlisle does make it through one cleanly.
All right, and Larry, we are starting to see some of our LMP2 racers head to the pit lane. Nick Lehman just put his machine on the pit lane. I was going to say we're starting to get close to the.
I don't think he's there for a short pit stop, though.
Yeah,
he's going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
Let's catch a bit of a
let's
replay.
take a look and see why he's there on the pit lane, Larry.
Yeah.
I think I can tell you exactly why.
Late,
it's probably because he went straight into a wall. Yeah, there
late
you
on
go.
the brakes and leaving a souvenir on the track for the fans to pick up later. That would be the front end of his LMP2. That is a quick end to his race at a high speed of impact.
And if you look there with Bobby Childs with no nose cone in front, that's what most LMP2 racers aspire to, Larry, is to look just like their GTP big brother right behind. Yeah.
All right, so Coxon there, getting passed by one of the GTPs. Here we've got the battle here between Carrito and Barrera. Carrito in the Acura, Carlos Barrera in that Lamborghini right in front of him.
And Larry, we've got a big change, I think, at the front of the GT3 field. Is I think Brian Coxon has had some challenges or issues of the concrete concrete type. Pardon me. Let's take a look and see if we can pick this up. Of course, we had Zach DeLeva starting to give him some pressure. And
yeah, well, you can see Coxon just tried to move aside for the sliding GTP. And then gets hit by DeLeva as they go into the fountain. I don't think Coxon realized DeLeva was making a move. No. Well, he was Coxon just trying to avoid the sliding GTP car.
And he's just got to wait and wait and wait until there's an opening there. And so that's going to drop Coxon down to 5th in Pro. It's going to move DeLeva up to 2nd in GT3, still your leader in AM, but I would suspect that probably is not going to hold. We'll keep our ear down, or keep our ear open, and see if anything comes from race control on that.
Yep, they're looking at it, so we'll see what they have to say.
And starting to see some of our GTP racers also come down the pit lane here. Steven Hudek on the pit lane. Nick Mazza on the pit lane as well. I think Aaron Beaver may have been our first racer to pit in right on lap 23, so about a lap ago. And we thought that the GTP window was going to be fairly long here tonight, but right around 23, 24 laps. And no, they're getting to that right about now. So we may see more of them come down the pit lane. But let's do this, Larry, before we have the barrage of GT3 racers start to come down the pit lane, as we think their pit window is going to open up here in a lap or two. Why don't we take a quick break, thank some of our partners and sponsors, and when we come back, we'll take you all the way to the checkered flag here at Long Beach, where you're watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by the SCCA Foundation and Butt Kicker. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post.
And welcome back to Long Beach, everybody. It is round number 4 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by the SCCA Foundation and Butt Kicker, here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsberg. He's Larry Lefty McLeod. Got Jim Cunningham back here pushing all the buttons. And talk about trial by fire for Jim tonight, Larry.
Yeah.
This is not the place or the race to just jump in. So
this is a tough one. There's a lot of action going on tonight. We're trying to keep up as best we can. But I tell you, when you got 40 cars, essentially, you talk about the Lime Rock being the bull ring. This place is the China shop for that bull. This is just, there's
Exactly.
things to hit everywhere you turn.
I was going to say, Larry, when you've got 40 cars and 35 of them are bouncing off the walls like pinballs, it's rough. As we're on board right now with our LMP2 leader, that is Dean Dibdahl, as he is coming up onto the back of one of our Rockefeller racers. That is, I think is that Milan Harrison, the 96 machine?
It's the Rockefeller Corvette. I think.
It's
Is it? Was that the
Corvette. I thought it
Acura?
was the
Maybe you're right.
Acura, sorry.
Maybe it is the Acura. My apologies.
No, it's Ilya Speaker. He's in the other Rockefeller Rockefeller Acura. Pardon me. One's the 96, one's the 86. And we've been talking all night long about Zach DeLeva, and we still have not seen or heard anything come in about that incident between DeLeva and Coxon. But let's take a look at our driver running second in GT3 AM, because this might become very important soon enough. Where don't back up there. Aaron Sunday in the number 331 Lamborghini, and he's trying to chase Brian Coxon down right now. That is for fifth in GT3 altogether, but Sunday currently running second in AM.
Yeah, like you said, that could become critical if a penalty is issued to DeLeva down the line here when the stewards are done looking. So very important driver to be paying attention to, Aaron Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. I was just gonna say Sunday. It's not my usual stuttering, Larry. It's
and now one thing we haven't talked.
Sunday.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about yet are the points coming into tonight. This is round 4 of an 8-round series. We're reaching that halfway point here. Just while we're talking about the GT3 AMs, I don't know if we've got points to pull up. We can at least kind of walk through them. Your leader coming into tonight is, as Jim loads those, drum roll please. Your leader coming in tonight is, in fact, Carlos Ferrero.
Yeah, Jim, if you can't do it, we'll just talk to it. No worries. Okay. All right. So in GT3 AM, currently your leader, Larry, and not racing here this evening.
He is actually.
Is he?
Oh wait, you're talking about in
Josh
GT3
Vidal?
AM?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was talking about. I'm sorry, because that was Spa 2 weeks ago. I was looking at the finishing order for Spa. You are right. Yes, he actually is racing here. Carlos Barreo from Speed Lab Dream to Inspire, your current points leader, with 100. And these points aren't correct, but
that looks like the round 1 points.
Yeah, I think still. Oh, that's okay. This is the second round in a row we've had that problem. Carlos is currently running with 113 points, and Tyler King from Air Kinetics is currently second in the championship with 94. He's only 19 points back from Carlos Barreo. Josh Vidal in the HSR Phantom Racing Acura, currently third in the championship.
Yeah. And I bring all that up now because Aaron Sunday's in a position, maybe if a penalty is awarded to Zach DeLeva. Aaron Sunday came in tonight only 5th in points. DeLeva came in tonight in 7th. Both huge opportunities to move up, but we know there's potentially penalties coming to DeLeva, so this gets very interesting for Aaron Sunday with all the cars in front of him not having the strongest of nights or not here.
Yeah, I was to say we're not here at all, and Sunday came into the evening only 2 points back from Julio Barreo, just ahead, and Zach DeLeva was 17 points back from Sunday here this evening. So
there has been a ruling on the DeLeva incident, and he was given a drive-through penalty. So Zach DeLeva will have to serve that penalty. That should hand that lead over in the AM category to Aaron Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And we already have now Michael Brooks, who has gotten around Zach DeLeva to take the GT3 lead here in the number 83 Wrong Stuff Lamborghini, as we expect to see DeLeva bring that car down the pit lane. And did I just see DeLeva a long way back, a very long way back there? I think I did. Looked like he was halfway down East Seaside Drive.
Well, all right, a couple other things we can discuss real quick then. We talked about there is DeLeva coming in to serve his penalty.
Yep.
All right, so then this, we talked about how close he had been to the top of the GT3 Pro standings as well. Right. GT3 Pro coming into tonight, your leader was Ryan Amon. And now we've got another pile up here involving Aaron Sunday, actually, right in the middle of it.
That's like Sunday.
Yeah.
Looked like a big. It looked as though, and hopefully we can go back and see what happened there. If not, I understand. But it looked like he was one of the trailing cars coming in. All right, let's see if we can.
It's a different one here, actually. That might be Ryan Amon. Yeah, that's Ryan Amon after his earlier repairs, now going through the hairpin, and he's trying to avoid contact.
That is exactly what it was, Larry.
He's trying to avoid it and sit still. Meanwhile, the car on the outside he couldn't quite make it either. That's how difficult that radius is at that corner, and may have ultimately triggered the incident that we were just seeing Aaron coming through.
Yeah, exactly.
When we picked up on him.
Sunday was one of the trailing racers through there.
Oh, it's getting
both
chaotic.
he and Charlie Hosea found a way through.
Yeah.
But now Brian Coxon, who
came on that incident, yeah.
And Coxon found a way to get through it as well. But some other drivers obviously not quite as lucky. And
yeah. All right, so we are back to live.
Yep.
And this is Aaron Sunday, now the AM leader officially of the class after Zach DeLeva serves his penalty. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the GT3 Pro standings.
Sure, yeah.
As we're now past the halfway of tonight's race. Coming into tonight, Ryan Amon was your leader. Well, we know that he had his issues already early. We just saw him a moment ago, already down a bunch of laps, still having more issues. Second place coming into tonight, Ethan Bass, who was trailing by 5 points. No sign of Ethan at all tonight.
This evening. Right.
Leo Dragota, we know that he had issues as well in qualifying and then was caught behind all those pileups and then hits a wall later on. Mike Dam, no sign of him tonight. He was fourth in the points. Kyle Spalding, we know he's had issues. He's down the order. Taj Edwards, he had issues. Milan Harris, who's now leading, came into tonight in seventh in the points. That's how crazy this is here at Long Beach.
All right, and I think we just had let's see, we just had who come down the pit lane here, so Milan Harris, your leader, and we're getting to the point, Larry, where we are going to start seeing a lot of these GT3 racers head to the pit lane here. So I think that is one of the things that just moved him up. He was running, I think, 7th in GT3, all the while Brian Coxon is still running almost 11 seconds behind.
And Coxon tonight came in 11th in the point standings before we started this race. So again, you've got some drivers who have been down the order, struggled early in the season, getting opportunities tonight because of the mayhem that seems to befell everyone in front of them.
All right, so Aaron Beaver and Carson Cushman pit in. Beaver pitting in from 4th in GTP. Cushman pitting in from 2nd in LMP2. And we'll likely see Jordan Griffin, the two Jordans, Griffin move up to 2nd in LMP2. Jordan Butler considerably further back.
That's Hosea there. Getting passed by one of his GTPs. Yeah, we've got another incident happening somewhere.
And this is huge, Larry. Our overall leader, our GTP leader, Bailey Petrowski, who had built up, I think, close to a 30-second advantage, has issues at the hairpin.
Yeah.
And he now rejoins the field.
And then he missed the pit in and had to call a tow. We're going to see if he ended up.
If we can back up and see exactly what happened to him here, Larry, as he makes the run down to turn 9, comes down East Seaside Way, makes that short little run into turn 10, and then has to set up for the hairpin.
Oh, that's a little bit of curb.
And he lost it under braking. Maybe just had a little bit too much rear brake bias as as he was completing the left-hand turn to set up for the hairpin.
It didn't look like a huge impact. He clipped the nose of the wall. The issue is this here. He misses pit in and then decides just to call the tow. Yeah. And I'm really surprised, unless he was out of fuel, that he didn't just make the run around one more time, limping that car. But you never know with Bailey if he just decided it wasn't worth trying to be out there and having the rest of traffic deal with a car that may have been mishandling. But for now, Bailey is on the tow in the pits.
All right, so that is going to move Sean Fitzgerald up to the lead in GTP. Dean Dibdahl brought his LMP2 Dallara down the pit lane for service. He is now going to rejoin and doing so quite slowly.
Yeah, that pit lane entry is long and it is slow. The pit speed limit is a very long, almost unusually long here at Long Beach. Ooh, look at the slide there for Griffin.
And also there is that control line, Larry, that if you put even just a wheel over, if you rejoin even just a couple feet early going into turn 1, you can end up with a slowdown penalty.
You have to look for the blue cone. It's the only thing you can do.
And we, as Zach DeLeva now coming down the pit lane, and this is for he already served his drive penalty, Larry.
Pit stop.
So now for his pit stop, where he is in third position, Dan Carrizo about 15 seconds, a little bit further up, down the road here. Big thing here is we're going through the point standings for GT3 Pro, and the Mustang, Larry, of Ryan Amon has just been given a drive-through penalty for that incident at the hairpin.
And that's insult to injury, really, as we saw him involved there, but obviously in other wrecks as well. So for Ryan, not the night he was hoping to have, considering the way he came in strong in points coming into this round 4. But right now, your leader in GT3 Pro is that guy right there, Milan Harris from the Rockefeller Racing.
This is not how I expected this evening to play out, Larry.
Yeah.
All right, so Brian Coxon now second in GT3 Pro, about 5 seconds in arrears.
The other one we should
Sunday, your leader in AM.
We should get some airtime to Sean Fitzgerald, who actually is leading this overall this race right now in the GTP in his Cadillac. There he is. We hadn't talked about him so much, but since Bailey has spun and knocked himself out, Sean Fitzgerald becomes the man. His lead right now about 14 seconds on Dalton Fredericks, who's driving one of the Porsches in GTP.
Great comment from Ken Copeland.
Yeah.
who should know as well as a Smart Racer of the Day award. It's a toss-up between Ethan Bass, Mike Dam, and Travis Schwenke, none of which came out to race tonight.
What do those three have in common? They're in the chat or not watching or not racing, but they're somewhere not racing tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate that, Ken. That's nice. All right, so as we're on board here with Sean Fitzgerald, who could be tonight's Smart Racer, and if he is able to survive the next 25 minutes or so. A 14-second advantage that he has in Dalton Fredericks, but Fitzgerald and Fredericks, I believe, both still are yet to make their pit stops. Traffic here with Carlos Barreo
here, Larry, in the Lamborghini, looking for a way past Charlie Hosea. Again, Barreo now running second in AM here, and Hosea currently fourth in Pro.
And this is the group that has not stopped yet. So with Harris, Coxon, Sunday, Brooks, Hosea, Barreo have not stopped yet. We'll see how that works once they do make their stops and where they end up. But for Barreo, again, he came into tonight up at the top of the points in the AM, so I'm sure he'd like a strong finish here. Find a couple of Rockefeller Racing entries there. Looks like Hosea right in front of him in the Corvette, and then we've got one of the Acuras.
Yeah, that
next
is
in line.
The Acura just ahead.
I think it's a lap down Acura.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's a
Ilya
Speaker, and Speaker just had some more issues. I think not an issue, but just tapped one of the walls. But Speaker's a lap down.
I think he's several laps down, unfortunately, but not on current lap with the almost hard to keep track of who's on the current lap This is probably only about
speakers, 3 laps down.
yeah, it's only probably a handful of cars in the GT3s that are still on the lead lap, but there's a lot of them still running. There's been some repairs that have been made. Drivers came back out, so Ken, maybe, just maybe, maybe people do like to drive this track. Jim says, as long as there's not 40 cars, it's a good track. Well, we started with 40. There's a few less than 40 now, so maybe we're okay.
I was going to say, we're down to, down to 35. And so, Larry, talk about going along right now. Jordan Griffin, in the number 283 machine, our pre-race interview guest for Purple Sector Motorsports, our only LMP2 racer yet to travel down the pit lane and take service. And so has done, so Dibdall is still on the lead lap. And we know that Griffin didn't have the greatest of starts, had fallen all the way to the back of the LMP2 field. So I think definitely going to be difficult for him to hold on to this position. As a matter of fact, Griffin, Dibdall, Carson Cushman, and Jordan Butler all still on the lead lap.
Yeah,
so,
and if you look at our standings there, knowing that Butler's probably only about 30 seconds back from Jordan Griffin, it'll be tough for Griffin to hold the position over all four, but he's got a chance. He may come out very close to Butler when he does finally make his stop.
Well, here's the chance. I mean, he's got light fuel load and no traffic ahead of him.
He may be a little lighter on paint based on how close he got to that wall.
All right, Milan Harris now pitting in from the lead in GT3. That's going to move Brian Coxon, Larry, back to the lead. He had it briefly, and he is now your GT3
and leader Aaron Sunday also just into the pits. That will move Carlos Barreo up into the top spot for the time being in GT3 AM. There's Aaron.
Now Barreo yet to pit. Keith Stein, who's running third in pro, yet to pit as well. All right, Jordan Griffin now brings his Dallara onto the pit lane. So we'll likely see Dean Dibdall reassume the lead in LMP2, and he now does. Ken Copeland says Long Beach is great. The people on it are the problem. Oof. And Dibdall getting a big piece of the wall going through turn one. The rear end of that Dallara is starting to look awfully loose, Larry.
Just a little bit.
And I'm fairly certain, and I think a lot of this had to do with, again, the very short pit window that the LMP2 racers have at almost every circuit that we race at. I don't think any of the LMP2 racers were taking tires for this event. We may see it for the GT3 racers just simply because of how long it takes to take a full tank of fuel. But the tire killer might do well to conserve his tires here through the end of the race, although he's only got about 4 seconds at the moment on Carson Cushman.
They pushing it here, though. Again, a lot of risk. Get out into the walls here at Long Beach. That'll definitely put you do that enough times, another 15 times or whatever it's going to take to get to the end, and that'll definitely run the risk of tapping a wall and taking yourself out.
Yeah, so Larry, as we kind of suspected with the other three LMP2 racers that we talked about, besides Dibdall, Cushman and Butler, all on the lead lap as well. When Jordan Griffin, and that's actually Carson Cushman, his teammate, when Griffin rejoined, He rejoined only about three and a half seconds back from Jordan number 1, Jordan Butler, in the number 72 machine. So pretty close on track here. And we'll see here, I think, what certainly what Dibdall is experiencing right now, and I think a lot of our racers, is as as the walls have reached out and grabbed so many of these cars here this evening, Larry, we're starting to see a lot more open space.
Just a little bit clearer out there, but still treacherous because there's still walls for the next 20 minutes.
All right,
take a look at things. Yeah,
Larry, that after we cycled through the pits, Milan Harris regains and retains the GT3 Pro lead, and by a pretty substantial 5 seconds now over Brian Coxon.
Yeah, it's a pretty good gap here now that everyone's finally showing their hand with their pit stops. So Harris, Coxon, Brooks. And then, of course, on the AM side, Barreo, Carrito, and Deleva. Still a pretty close battle there. I wouldn't say anything's decided between all of them. In fact, there they are.
Just as you say that, as Carrito and Deleva go through turn 4, or I guess actually turn 5 on the West Shoreline Drive side by side. That was pretty darn tight here as they go now and set up for the hairpin. Oh, and Deleva, he is off and into the wall.
That is going to be an early end of things. I don't know. That was at least a relatively slow speed because it's at the hairpin, but there's going to be some damage to his Lamborghini.
And that, I don't know, Larry, if it was just that given how close he was to Hosea just ahead of him, perhaps he just missed his braking marker. I just don't know.
Sure.
Well, we'll see if we can.
He seems all right so far here.
Your wheel was well, no, that's just it's just some connectivity issues. Maybe that run into the tire wall knocked one of the antennas off the roof.
Could be. Oh, that's an aggressive nosedive there for Deleva to try to tuck to the inside, but he does make it stick, and I think that. Let's see who that was. Was that Hosea? It was.
I think that was Charlie Hosea in the 100 machine. Yeah, that was the Rockefeller Corvette.
And then Deleva now getting defensive as they come down the straightaway. He badly wants to keep up that Aaron Sunday and Dan Carrito.
As we're watching Aaron Sunday right now, and wow, and here comes Deleva. This would be this is the battle for second in AM, and I guess actually second and the lead in AM.
And the battle is on.
Well, actually, I was going to say, the McLaren there, that is a lapped car.
That Panhiraday, possibly.
Right, yeah, I think that was Hiraday. So Barrero is still a couple seconds up the road from these two. But I'll tell you, Carlos Barreo's having lots of issues getting out of that hairpin. as he runs the rear end of his Lamborghini up against the wall each and every time.
Yeah.
And Deleva just much later on the.
It's Aaron Sunday actually there in the Lamborghini. Yeah. Yeah, so Sunday now with Deleva just on this charge. Remember, Deleva had the lead in the class up until he had to serve that penalty. So Deleva may be believing he's got the better pace, and now he's got to show it by getting around Sunday. And then they still find themselves another 6 seconds behind Corrido and Barreo, who are pretty far up the road now.
Thank you for how much fixing everything that I just messed up in the last 30 seconds. But what I was going to say then was Deleva turning in much later for the hairpin, albeit not running into the tire wall first. So we'll see here as he's just hanging back a little bit. But you notice here how Sunday gets defensive coming out of turn 8.
And now they've
Deleva
got
just much better on the brakes there as Sunday had to contend with the prototype car coming underneath them.
And prototypes do not make the hairpin quickly, and that kind of shows the bit of accordion effect going on there between Deleva Sunday and that prototype.
And Larry, we just had Sean Fitzgerald, our GTP leader, come down the pit lane for service. He is now rejoined, and he is rejoined with almost 20 seconds on Dalton Fredericks, although Fitzgerald is having to work his way through some of this GT3 traffic and get his tires back up to temp. Fredericks has knocked about 7 seconds out of that advantage already. And he's got no traffic to speak of here. He's going to come up on a couple of GT3 cars as he gets closer to the back of Fitzgerald. But that, Larry, you tell me, Fredericks, I mean, it looks as though he's pushing the car for all it's worth, but that car just looks to be jumping all over the place on him.
There's definitely a lot of movement there, so that car is acting a bit on the loose side. Could be the way he wants it here at this street circuit to be able to make these quick change of direction, but boy, that's going to make a lot of work in a big long car like this, because it's hard to recover once the back end starts to go. It doesn't want to react as easily, but it certainly would make these hairpins a lot more comfortable.
All right, and big change here, Larry, as we go on board, or not on board, as we watch Dean Dibdahl. Dibdahl just gets around Nick Mazza, who is running third in GTP. In his Cadillac. And in the chat, Dean's dad Rich was just saying, I hope Mazza pits in soon because he's holding up Dean. Well, Dean finally found a way around.
Dean is living up to his nickname. He's a rocket ship tonight, making his way through this field. So clean, so precise. I hope for his sake he continues so he doesn't have to blame the commentator for saying nice things about him. But he's doing well here. He's now got to work around Keith Stein in the Rockefeller Corvette. Look at that back end. You talked earlier about the slide for Fredericks. So look at Dibdahl doing the same thing, just chucking that Delara around.
A nice little drift there.
Yeah. He's certainly putting his tire to the test, as any good Dibdahl should do. There's his competition. That's Carson Cushman. Just about 5 seconds behind him. So Dibdahl, Cushman, and then Jordan Griffin about a 3/4 of a minute back or so. But the battle 1-2 in class is these two. It is Cushman and Dibdahl. Here's a good shot of Jordan Griffin. He's right there behind one of the GTPs. That's your race leader, of course, Sean Fitzgerald.
Larry, and with just about 10 minutes remaining, it is, as you said, Sean Fitzgerald, your leader in GTP, with Dalton Fredericks now cutting that lead down to about 8 seconds, a little bit over 8 seconds. In LMP2, it is Dean Dibdahl, and Dibdahl with about 3.5 seconds now back to Carson Cushman, and then we've got Milan Harris and Brian Coxon, your leaders in GT3 Pro. I believe also about 5 seconds separating Harris and Coxon. Your leader in AM, Carlos Barreo, and Barreo with only about 3 seconds, I believe, up on Dan Carrido, running second in AM. As we continue to watch this fight for the last step on the podium in AM between Zach DeLeva and Aaron Sunday. Remember, coming into the evening, Sunday had about 14 points on DeLeva.
Well, Fredericks and Fitzgerald now down to 8 seconds. Keeping an eye on it. Fredericks has got some traffic in front of him. That right there is Jordan Butler in the 72, just in front of him in the LMP2 car. And then, of course, you've got the battle of DeLeva and Sunday in the GT3 AMs going on as they go three wide
Into turn
Fredericks gets maybe through. He's got to get around Butler. Looks like he does. Fredericks shoved his nose in there, made it work. DeLeva doesn't want to yield, though, because he's in his own battle with Sunday. And look at this.
Yeah, DeLeva's going to try to shove the car right underneath Dalton Fredericks.
GT3 cars do the hairpin a lot faster than either of the other two in this shot. The GTPs are the slowest through. The LMPTs are next to us. But because it is such a tight corner, the shortest wheelbase wins, and that's going to be your GT3s in that case.
And meanwhile, Larry, as we saw the lead that Fitzgerald had over Fredericks shrink by a number of seconds over 2 or 3 laps, a lot of that came down to traffic. And so Fredericks now coming up on some of those exact same cars that Sean Fitzgerald had to contend with just 2 laps earlier, has now seen the rubber band effect and lost over 1.5 seconds just on that last lap alone.
Yeah. Well, we had not talked about the point standings in GTP. Is coming into tonight. Your leader coming into the night was Kevin Carlisle. He's had his issues. Aaron Beaver came in second place. Bailey Petrowski, who skipped the Road Atlanta event, came in third. He had 2 out of the 3 wins, and we've seen his demise earlier tonight. Sean Fitzgerald, now leading, came into tonight in 4th and didn't even run the first round at Fuji.
Right.
And then, of course,
and a distant 4th at that, 70 points back.
And for Dalton Fredericks, it's his first race of the season. So it's a very interesting way things are going to get shaken up after tonight, no matter how this works out.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we give you the point standings.
Yeah. And then last but not least, of course, the LMP2s. We hadn't talked about them. It's a little easier story there, as Dean Dibdahl, with 2 wins in 3 rounds, has the overall points lead. There are 4 points over Carson Cushman, who's got 2 seconds at a first. Those guys obviously are still strong contenders sitting first and second in class tonight. Jordan Griffin, we talked to him pre-race. He came into the night 3rd in points. Stacey Bertrand 4th. Jordan Butler in 5th. Now with just 7 minutes to go, can Dibdahl hold off Cushman? Can Fredericks catch Fitzgerald? And then, of course, GT3 AM, still a pretty good battle there with Barreo, Carrito, and then, of course, the last step of the podium between Sunday and DeLeva. It's going to come down to the last couple laps here, I think, for those guys.
Yeah. And speaking of, Larry, you just mentioned Stacey Bertrand from Rockefeller Racing. She was in practice this week the fastest of our LMP2 racers. And unfortunately, this is a race that just did not work out for her. She's showing as being 6th in LMP2, but only completed 19 laps here this evening, and showing as classified as 33rd overall right now.
Good look at some of your other contenders' names here between Dragota and Bennett, always at the fast, pointy end of this field, but tonight struggles for both of them, having spent some time in the pits. Here they are. They found each other, Dragona and Bennett. They are
Once
racing for
again.
position.
Well, they had found each other on lap number 2 when they went down went into turn 1 and found that there was no way through turn 1.
Yeah, good battle here there between the Porsche and that Lamborghini of Bennett as our other battle. I think that might be Jordan Griffin coming up in through that field in the 283 LMP2 car now right behind Bennett. And then, then that's Fredericks actually right behind them, right in that same group.
I was just going to say that's Dalton Fredericks running second overall in that group as well. And big change here now as Carson Cushman running second in LMP2 in the number 10 Purple Sector Motorsports machine has gotten around Nick Mazza. So from one Purple Sector machine to another. So drop Mazza now down to 5th overall. But more importantly, I think he's got the top two LMP2 machines running ahead of him on track right now. Mazza is now as he crosses the stripe, about a lap and a half down from Sean Fitzgerald.
Yeah, so Aaron Sunday is now pulled away from Zach Zaleva just a little bit, and he's got himself all the way up to Dan Carrito, who seems to be fading back from Carlos Barreo, who's got the AM lead. He's 8 seconds up the road, but Carrito now has Aaron Sunday all over his tail. And now with probably only 2 laps to go, this could come. This could decide who finishes second in this thing.
Exactly, Larry. With under 4 minutes remaining, probably 2 laps. As as I think we just saw the tail end of that shot. I think the Sector 5 machine of Bennett went around. And yep, indeed, there he is. He just now tries to recover, but we can see the gap that Carrito and Sunday now have on Zach DeLeva behind. As we quickly take a look here at what happened to Brian Bennett as his bad night turns worse and just misses the turn in there, doesn't get the car woed down in time over at turn 9.
Had to find himself in reverse to get going again. Luckily, that little outlet road is there for him. As we keep our eyes on replay here of Sunday. Yeah, right there at the hairpin there, Aaron Sunday. Still trying to get past Carrito.
Again, this is for the second step on the podium. In AM, it would be for 4th.
And they've
overall in GT3s.
Yeah, they've got a traffic in front of them. That is not for position there in front of them. And I was trying to check who that is.
Sunday, Bloody Sunday there as Aaron goes and puts it
I think
off
that's
the wall.
Adam Ballard's Rockefeller Racing entry right in front of them. He's obviously a couple laps down in his Acura. Let's see if he yields to them or not quite. They're going to go through the hairpin, nose to tail. This may be an opportunity here for Aaron Sunday to get around Dan Carrito. Let's watch them as they go down the straightaway.
And Sunday's again starting to get some good jumps out of the hairpin here, but look, there is Dan Carrito just like he was shot out of a cannon coming on the East Shoreline Drive.
And you got just enough of a draft there behind that lapped car to be able to give him a little bit extra speed down the straightaway. So Aaron Sunday back to looking at the rear end of that Acura. He's quicker through this section, though, it seems, is Sunday. Just isn't getting the plant coming out of the hairpin as well as Carrito did the last time around. And we may be coming up on pretty close to seeing a white flag for our leaders. Maybe 1 or 2 more laps to go as we catch in with Sean Fitzgerald, who's just crossing start-finish. And I think that was a waving white flag.
Yeah, I believe it is, as we now have just a little over 1 minute remaining on the clock. And this should be the last lap, Larry.
Yep. Meanwhile, we check back in with our leader in LMP2. This will be Dean Dibdahl, now 9 seconds, it looks like, ahead of his rival Cushman. So Dibdahl's been so fast here. He should try to get around. This is that battle in front of him.
Yeah, this is that battle
the
that we've been
331 of
between
Sunday and Carrito.
Carrito.
Dean can hang behind it, but I wouldn't recommend it. He may be forced to, as we're on board with Sunday, and I don't see. Oh, there he is. There's the rocket ship. Got one of them. This is risky.
That's a lot of curb.
This is risky for Dibdall here at this stage with 10-second advantage to try and get between these guys. If you're Sunday, you got to be ready, because if Dibdall pulls in front of Corrido somewhere in a bad spot, that could be an opportunity to make a last lap pass. That bad spot could be coming up here in the left-hander. Here it is.
And here he comes down the inside, Larry. Not quite close enough.
One more chance, really. It's going to be at the end of this straightaway. Not a good rubbing the walls for Sunday.
All right, our leader, Fitzgerald, now
Has
should
crossed.
be right behind this fight, I think.
Fitzgerald, I think, has already...
Has he taken the checker already?
I
Yes,
think
he
he
has. Yeah, Fitzgerald already took the checker. There we go, with Dalton Fredericks finishing second. And in GT3 Pro, Milan Harris takes the win over Brian Coxon. Michael Brooks will finish in third. Dean Dibdall crosses the line, takes the win in LMP2. And in that battle that we were watching in GT3 AM, Carlos Barreo takes the win. Dan Corrido manages to hold off Aaron Sunday for second. And Zach DeLeva is going to finish just off the podium in AM.
Oh, what a chaotic night. And boy, I tell you, the points are going to be flipped upside down in a lot of these classes. But for Barreo in GT3M to come back and get that win is going to just be huge. I can't wait to hear from all of these winners.
All right. Well, Larry, we're going to have the opportunity to do that in just a few moments, right after we take a break to thank some of our partners and sponsors. Stay with us, everybody.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Hundreds of name brand parts. Expert support. Ricmotech has you covered. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And welcome back, everybody, where you've just seen round number 4 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by the SCCA Foundation and Butt Kicker here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg. He's Larry Lefty McLeod. And way over there in the truck, that's Jim Cunningham. And Larry, let's take a look at that overall, look at that finishing order, if we can, Jim, before I start bringing in interviews. We'll get that on We'll get that on screen. I caught him off guard there. Well, I'll tell you what. Taking the win in GTP, Sean Fitzgerald for Lead Paw Racing. I think it's the first time we've seen somebody from Lead Paw up on the top of the podium in quite some time here in the World Challenge. There we go. Dalton Fredericks finishes second, and finishing third in GTP, Nick Mazza from SimCity. In LMP2, Dean Dibdahl from Rocket Ship Racing taking the win over Carson Cushman from Purple Sector. And then his teammate Jordan Griffin works his way back up into third after dropping all the way back to last in class on that first lap. Jordan Griffin, our pre-race interview guest, finishing third. In GT3, in the Pro Series, Milan Harris for Rockefeller Racing takes the win. That may be his first race win here in the World Challenge, Larry. Brian Coxon will finish second. Michael Brooks from The Wrong Stuff finishing in third. And finally, in GT3 AM, from Speed Lab Dream to Inspire, Carlos Barreo taking the win in AM with Dan Carrillo second. Aaron Sunday finishing in third. So let's do this. Let's talk to some of our race winners. The first one we're going to bring in, Larry, it is going to be Milan Harris from Rockefeller Racing, driver of the number 98 Rockefeller Acura Integra. Or did I say Acura Integra? Let's try that again. Acura NSX.
Milan Harris joining us here post-race. Your winner in the GT3 Pro. Greg says you're driving a Integra. I think he's projecting off the car he drives in the street. But no, you're in an NSX. Fantastic win tonight. But talk about chaos. Tell me a little bit about how you survived 75 minutes here.
I mean, I think I got a little lucky on that for sure. I just tried to be smart, patient, and smooth. And just as the race went on and stuff, I kept seeing me go up in position. I was like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? So I felt like that was handed to me a little bit. I had a little bit of pace for qualifying, but couldn't put it in. So started a little further back than I wanted. But it was a good race. That was fun. So
yeah, unbelievable stuff. We saw the big giant wreck in the GT3s on lap 2 or whatever that was. A lot of people got to take it on it, but you have to be smarter around this place. You have to know when to take risks and when not to. Did you find yourself in situations tonight where you decided to just back out of a risky moment and say, let me just survive into the lap and see what happens?
Yeah, there were definitely a couple. I did not take tires this race to save myself a little time, and they definitely fell off there at the end. So Brian was doing a great job kind of ringing me in there. I was like, please don't do it with a few laps to go because I don't have anything to fight with. But it got close. It was kept me on my toes. It was fun. That was a really good race. So
yeah, and Greg, remind you, we think this is your first win here in this series. Is that right?
Not this season. It is. So
okay. All right. Well, awesome job here getting the win. This place is as tough as any to try and fight through. Be able to pull out victories. Never easy here at Long Beach. Never easy in this series, of course, with as deep of fields as we have. So awesome job tonight. But I know you've got friends, family, and a great team there behind you. Probably want to give a mention to.
Yeah, huge shout out to the Rockefeller Racing Team, VO2 Mafia, Coach Dave Academy, and also to you guys and the whole Ricmotech crew and for the great racing stuff. It's a blast. We love it.
All right, well, congrats again tonight, getting the win here at Long Beach in GT3 Pro for Rockefeller Racing. Milan Harris, congrats.
Thanks.
All right, Larry, let's stay with this GT3 theme here. And we are going to bring in next from Speed Lab Dream to Inspire, your GT3 AM winner, Carlos Barreo.
All right, joining us here is Carlos Barreo, a.k.a. Lalo. Awesome job tonight getting that win, but man, it was not easy at all. You had fights up and down. Tell me a little bit about your experience here tonight.
This was definitely the best race I've ever had. I mean, I started from last place. Was not expecting a win whatsoever. But I kept my head down. There was twice where I literally had to stop in the middle of the track and survived, and it worked out.
Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, we were watching there going into the pit stops there. You were sort of in the mix. We weren't quite sure how far you were going to be able to go, but coming out of the stops, you just had pace the second half of that race. Was that when traffic cleared up a little bit for you? It just kind of made it easier to start being more consistent with lap times?
Yeah, I got out of the pits and I had absolutely no traffic, so I got super, super lucky with that.
Yeah, awesome job. This place is as tough as it gets. And you talked about starting at the back and you think, oh, that might help you a little bit. But there were some big pileups. We saw the big one down in 1. Did you just wait for daylight at that point? Just kind of let the field roll through it gently?
Literally, yeah. I had my coach spotting me, thankfully, because he knew I was starting from the back. So he helped me out tremendously. Whenever the gap was open, he told me right away and I took it.
Yeah. Incredible stuff tonight. You came into tonight leading the class in points. For a while, we were thinking that nobody in the top 5 was going to score, and suddenly you find yourself in the lead and back to yet another win. So great job there. But I know you've got a great team and some other friends and family who are in the chat tonight watching, and I'm sure you want to give a shout out to them as well.
Yeah, for sure. My whole family has been super supportive. My team, with all the narrow workouts and everything, has been just great. So I'd like to thank them.
All right, well, awesome job tonight getting the win at GT3 AM from Speed Lab Dream to Inspire, Carlos Barreo. Nice job.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully next round we'll get to speak with Carlos a little more at length about the Speed Lab Institute for Performance and their sponsorship of qualifying here in the World Challenge. Congratulations there, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on now, Larry, to the prototypes, and we're going to move over to, well, I was going to say, well, we're going to move over to LMP2, but I think it might be past Dean Dibdall's bedtime because I don't see him in the green room. So let's move on to our GTP winner tonight, taking the win for Lead Paw Racing. It is Sean Fitzgerald.
All right, joining us here, Sean Fitzgerald, your overall winner tonight. Sean, we're not sure we've had a Lead Paw car take a win in this series before. You might be the first, but we don't have official records. What do we know? All we know is you got the win here tonight. Congrats. How you feeling?
Great, thank you. Definitely tired. It took a lot out of me, especially in that second stint. I started making a lot of mistakes, but I had the gap to P2, so I took a lap or two just to, get myself back together a little bit. And once I had that rhythm going again, I was able to just pick up and build up the pace a little bit to where I was comfortable. But
yeah, it just looked very consistent and very strong outing tonight. We kept watching toward the end. The gap between yourself and Dalton kind of came down. We figured some of that was traffic, but was that making you a bit nervous seeing that on the relative?
Here and there. I definitely before the pit stop, I had an issue in turn 1 and I hit the wall and I lost 4 or 5 seconds. Made me a bit nervous there for sure. But once I had that gap back after the pit stop, I knew I could hold it as long as I just kept myself clean and doing everything that I needed to do. So at times it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but once I got my head into it, I was okay.
Yeah, just an absolute a crazy night tonight with a lot of that chaos, and to be able to come out of it alive on the other end of it, and as well as getting the overall win, it's got to be something special. Certainly, you want to savor this one if you can. But I know you've got yourself a team and probably some other folks who are cheering you on. You maybe want to give them a shout out.
Yeah, I have some friends in the chat that were cheering me on and everything, and obviously, as you said, my team. So. I'm happy to have the support and everything. It means a lot to be able to have that kind of support behind me. So, it's a good feeling in coming out of it. It's it really motivates me for the next following rounds and everything too. So.
Yeah. Well, as we reach the halfway point in the season, you might want to check those point standings. I just refreshed them real quick. You're up to 3rd. And considering we're going to be allowed 1 drop, you're sitting on otherwise a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd. That's a pretty good pull of points. So we're looking to see how you can do as we attack the second half of the season starting in 2 weeks. So, but for right now, sip some champagne and enjoy this when you well-earned victory here for Lead Paw Racing for Sean Fitzgerald. Awesome job.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. Sean Fitzgerald with the win tonight here in GTP. All right, Larry, let's start wrapping things up here. And I did tell to Rich that he should just withhold Dean's allowance this week. That'll teach him to skip out on interviews. All right, let's take a look at what we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks here on our different Ricmotech series. Next week, next Monday night, June 30th, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Larry and I are going to continue out on the West Coast and enjoy that, enjoy sleeping in for an extra couple hours as the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup for the TCR and GR86 Cup cars is going to be at Portland International Raceway, home of the Rose Cup, for a 60-minute run to the checker. And then in 2 weeks, July 7th, it is round 5 of the World Challenge. We're going to be at Algarve. That's Portimao, everybody. That's Portugal, everybody. And 75-minute round there. And then finally, Larry and I work ourselves to Mosport, the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, July 14th for the Touring Car Cup. All right, so for Jim Cunningham, for Larry Lefty McLeod, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Monday night from Portland. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.